What's happening, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Arc, along with Anthony Morrow. I am Colby Daniels. And my man, what is happening this week?
Not much, man. Just doing a lot of work, man. We're working on a sports and entertainment company, man. Me and my guy Gary Young. So been a lot of meetings, a lot of networking, a lot of shaking hands and taking business cards and sending emails.
The uh,
It's
the
been good.
lo- the launch is always the busiest part, right? Because you got to get all this other stuff like going before you can actually do the actual job, right?
Yeah, yeah. We just got LLC. We got all our paperwork right. So that took like maybe a week or about 2 weeks. But it's really about just getting it going. So luckily, he's already worked in the sports and entertainment space, so
There you
you know
go.
it was he already has a blueprint. Helping kids, we really going after the high school kids now because that's basically what you have to do at this point in the NIL space. But it's also going to be like media training, just helping them with everything else, kind of helping them game plan and kind of funnel them into the right NIL deals versus just taking money from people. And it's kind of like trying to kind of narrow down this space we in right now in this era, with just NIL is the wild, wild west. That's kind of what we're kind of we just making a company out of that right now, so we can slow some of that down for some of these kids and some of these parents and coaches.
Basically, not every bag is the same bag, right? Like,
Exactly. All bags aren't great bags. We trying to get to the great bag,
that's right. That's right.
not the bad bag.
Well, speaking of bags, the Thunder got their bag against San Antonio finally on what night was that? Tuesday night. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, now the fourth time was a charm, I guess. 0 for 3 against San Antonio. They get the win at the Paycom Center on Tuesday night. Like being in the arena, you could feel like a big game, nervous energy before tip off. And you knew that it wasn't just another quote unquote regular season matchup. I know that everybody's going to say, like, it was just another regular season matchup. It was just another game to get better. It clearly meant more to the Thunder than other regular season matchups. And Shea said after the game, it wasn't our Super Bowl, and I agree with that. But they also said playing a team that is that good and has beat you three straight times forces you to go to a level that you haven't been to, and it forces you to get better. And I think we saw that, and they resembled the team that won a championship in terms of their intensity, their physicality, their play style, much more in this game than they had in the previous three against San Antonio.
Yeah, it definitely was it's like a playoff game. That's what I like about this whole kind of mini rivalry. I don't want to
Yeah.
call it rivalry yet, but it's like a mini rivalry, and it's going to be a lot of intense games like this with these two teams, and they match up well. Like I said, I think it had to be a kryptonite for the Thunder at some point, and I mean, both teams are so deep. It just made sense that they would come in there with that mentality. You got 3 games of film of you losing. So the whole practice, the whole week before this, it's just, all right, look, we got to make sure that we take this away or take that away. Make sure that we expose this on offense, expose that on offense. And I think the Thunder, Mark did a great job once again, him and his staff, of basically just figuring that out. But it's gonna be close games. It's gonna turn into what we're gonna look. I hope 10 years in a row of this. So we'll see.
I'm ready to crown it a rivalry. I know that everybody's very cautious about like just saying
Yeah.
that is a rivalry, and a lot of people want to like put it on the path to becoming a rivalry. I'm there. Every time these two teams match up at this point, it's must see TV. There's clearly some dislike between the two teams. And when you watch the Thunder regularly, you watch the Spurs regularly, when they get on the floor together, they each bring something out in the other that is non existent in the games before and after those matchups. So to me, it has all the elements of a rivalry. I'm calling it a full on NBA rivalry, OKC San Antonio.
All right, Cole, January 15th. We stamping it then. OKC, San Antonio's robbery. I'm with you. I'm with you, bro.
All right. Speaking of rivalries, there's clearly a rivalry between Chet Holmgren and Victor Wembanyama, right? I mean, we've seen it. I think the last couple years in spurts when they've matched up against each other. There's a I don't know if it's a personal dislike or a professional dislike, but there is some friction I think between those two. It feels like it's maybe a little more on Wimby's side than it is on Chet's side, and that's probably somewhat reflected in the overall aggressiveness that Wimby plays when he's specifically matched up with Chet. That Chet doesn't quite play with that same level of aggressiveness when he's matched up with Wimby, but it's a lot of fun to watch. And, you know, if this thing is to blossom into the full blown rivalry that we want it to be, I think that's probably going to be the centerpiece, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's going to be that and maybe the Castle matchup. I like that a lot. I love that because you can tell Stefan is he's taking on the challenge of guarding the MVP. Like he's like, look, you the MVP, but I don't care, you know. And that's the same thing with Wimby. So that's just like I said, they remind me of OKC about 3 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, about 4 or 5 years ago. And they got some young, hungry killers over there. They got some dogs over there, man. So it's really going to be a rivalry that, I look forward to seeing. But in terms of Chet and Wemby, I think Chet is taking on the challenge. And I think it's just a competitive dislike, you know?
Yeah,
And I think it's going to get even better as they grow and get better every year. Just pray they stay healthy, man.
yeah.
As long as they're healthy, we're gonna be wanting to watch this. Like this is gonna be definitely must see TV every time they come on television.
Obviously, the 3 point shooting for OKC was not good in the first three matchups. I think, like combined, they were 28% from three in the first three games, 11 of 30 in the game earlier this week that they won. But I thought, in terms of making the ones that you have to make, the wide open looks where the ball moves and you have a good look at the basket, they made the majority of those the other night that they missed in the previous games. And it's such a game changer in terms of, I think, just the momentum and then being able to get your defense set and not like losing, the possession on a long rebound from the three, giving up a transition bucket. It just, to me, those made threes made such a massive difference in just the overall feel of the game and OKC being able to do what they want to do on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, I said that too. If you look at how they shot from and so I got asked that question on another show. How'd I feel about it, and what do you do to change it? You can't change it. Like it's not gonna go in every game. Like because it's not like they're not getting clean looks.
Right.
You can't keep missing clean looks in the NBA. Like eventually you're gonna start knocking those shots down. And 11 for 30 is decent. It's not even great. But the fact that you got off 33s and you almost went 50%, and like you said, they making the ones that you have to make, the corner threes after the ball moved, or you get it inside and you kick it out, two, swing, wide open three. Those are the kind of shots that they used to getting because of just how their offense is. So that's why they're hard to beat. If they shoot decent from three, they'll beat anybody. So we'll see. But you can't control necessarily shooting all the time. Um, Defensively is where they hang their hat anyway. Best defensive team in the league, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So as long as they play defense, the shots will fall. They'll get back on the road, get back on track.
The thing about their defense, and I think specifically the matchup against San Antonio, the Spurs probably do this better than anybody else in the league against OKC, and that's attack the defense, right? I mean, they penetrate against this defense and sort of break down the defense, and then the ball starts moving to the outside for open shooters, or their ball movement is great. But it all starts with the aggressiveness of guys like Fox. I think Harper is probably the guy that's best at it. I mean, he is ultra aggressive to the bucket. And once they
Yeah.
get the defense to collapse, I mean, that opens up everything else. And a lot of that is just, I think, more of a mindset than anything, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Aggressiveness. And they got a lot of aggressive guys. Like we got a lot of aggressive guys. So the matchups, I think that's what kind of puts a little bit more fuel on the fire for the rivalry, as you call it. We stamped it today. So it's what it is. But yeah, yeah, Dylan is really good at that. But then we got a lot of guys that can handle the ball, get downhill, and they play the right way. So it's similarities. So I know, it's kind of like the NFL, like you kind of take a little bit from each team that's each good team and kind of implement it within your offense or your defense, and then you never know because at the end of the year, they're gonna know everything about each other. So we see this matchup in the playoffs. It's gonna make for some great basketball, bro.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's if we get a 7 game series between these two, I mean, it already kind of feels like the intensity is close to that level.
Yeah.
I think you give a massive edge to OKC because they've been through the playoffs and know how, what that grind is game in, game out of having to bring that level of intensity. It's a lot easier, and you can speak to this. It's a lot easier to bring that for one game in the regular season when you're getting up for a big time opponent as opposed to having to match that every single time out when you're in a 7 game series and it's the best of four.
Yep. That's a fact. It's different when you got to go on the road, same intensity. I mean, the both amazing, fan bases and crowds, so it's gonna be a lot around that, and it's gonna be a lot around it, the media, obviously. But you got two young, hungry teams. You got one team that's the champs. You got another team that's like we can beat them. You know, they believe in over there. So shout out to the Spurs coach, man. Like very intense young guy. Got them young fellas really
Yeah.
on fire right now. So that's good.
So earlier in the week, before the Thunder beat the Spurs in this 4th game, I saw a comment from Carmelo Anthony, former OKC Thunder player for one season, right? Was
Yeah.
that the year after you left?
Yeah, that was like a year or two after I left.
Okay. That's what I thought. I'm making sure my timeline in my head was right, but he said
Mhm.
that San Antonio's role players are better than the Thunder's role players. If you take away the stars like Shea and Wimby, he said San Antonio's role guys are better than OKC's role guys. I don't know that I agree with that. If you put it into the microscope of in the 3 games that San Antonio won, then sure. I mean, obviously, San Antonio was the better team in those 3 games. On the big scale, I don't know that I agree with that. The OKC role players were certainly better in the win earlier this week. Jay Will, I thought, was fantastic off the bench. I mean, without Isaiah Hartenstein, he plays a big role. Getting rebounds. He always is a guy that does a lot of the little stuff. He hits some timely threes. J Dub seemed to find his rhythm a little bit more. I think in this game, he's still battling back from the wrist injury and all that stuff, but and he's not a role player. I mean, he's a star. But Caruso was fantastic. I mean, the quote unquote role players were much better this time around.
Overall, OKC has better role players right now. Overall, top to bottom. I'm looking at guys where you can take this five right here and be an 8 seed. I don't know if you can do that with San Antonio's role players. I know no disrespect, because they still got guys Harrison Barnes, Jeremy Sohan. Like it's some people like the Chimpagni kid,
Yeah.
Dylan Harper, which I kind of is kind of weird with him because I don't really look at him like a role player. But I mean, he is kind of right now playing behind De'Aaron Fox. But I mean, we got Isaiah, Kenrich, Kaysen, Alex. Like you said, Jay Will played well. I mean, it's just a lot of guys on here. I feel like AJ, who's playing well. I mean, it's like, and then on somebody Isaiah, like some of these guys is like any given game, they can go off. And I can't say that for like at that clip, like San Antonio can't do that. That not right now, not in my opinion.
Where do
If we
we
have a get decent games from two or three guys off the bench, beat anybody in the world.
Somebody asked me this earlier in the week. Where do we draw the line between like a star player and a role player? And is there like a level in between those two things?
A star player and a role player. I think well, the line is, a guy that can consistently come out and give you
So,
25, you know, 23, 25, 6, 4, you know, and he does that over 82 games, he does that 90% of the season. You know, that's like a star to me. Then most of these other guys, they stars in their own role. Um, but in between that, I mean, that's where you get your mid-level dudes. You get your 15, 16 points a game. Those guys are stars in their role. You know, it all depends though. Um, but you just know who's a star, who is not one.
yeah.
Consistency. And that's a lot of other stuff that comes into it. You know, some stuff you can't teach. You can't teach Shea how to be 6, 7 point guard. You know, you can't
Yeah.
teach Wimby to be 7'5". You know, so it's just you can't teach Jokic what he does at 7 feet, 7'1" or whatever. So that kind of stuff separates those guys from the rest of the bunch.
So for OKC, we would say the stars are Shea, Dub, and Chet, right? And for San Antonio, it's probably Fox, Castle, and Wimby. And then everybody
Yeah,
else on both teams would be considered a role player. And sometimes I feel like the NBA community kind of views the term role player as like a negative thing sometimes, which I don't
definitely.
understand. But it's kind of like in football, the whole like game manager quarterback. Like you can be a
Yeah,
star and a good game manager. Like being a good game manager doesn't mean you're not a good quarterback. But some people, for some reason, take those things in a negative way, just like role players they take in a negative way. But would we say is that the line? Those three for San Antonio, those three for the Thunder, and then everyone else is quote unquote role player?
yeah. Like Dylan Harper, I mean, yeah, Dylan Harper will be there eventually.
Right.
Uh, but right now, yeah, it's those three guys on each team. And then the rest of the guys are just kind of like, okay, what are you great at? Let's put him in positions to be great at what he does for what we need to be. And yeah, I'll put that there when you look at it because they both have great rosters. I just think OKC's roster is deeper than San Antonio's right now.
Yeah, I agree. More tools in the belt for
Yeah,
Dagnall to use overall, I think. All
yeah.
right. Speaking of role players, we know that the Thunder have had their share of superstars, right? I mean, what, four different guys that have won an MVP in the NBA that have worn a Thunder uniform at some point. You have
Mhm.
multiple other guys that have been multi NBA All Stars. So a ton of stars have come through OKC. But I want to know from you, who are the top five best role players in Thunder history?
It's tough, bro. Don't get me in trouble, man. The guys. Um, man. Oh shit. We're not going back to the Sonics or nothing, right?
No,
Just the
no,
Thunder.
no, no, no.
Okay, all right, all right, all right. Like not the role players that turned into stars.
If they were a role
With
player here, then I think they can be considered a role player here.
James,
Yeah, I think James was a role.
he
Yeah.
was there. Yeah, if he's doing that. Surge, put Surge in there. Um, that was tough. I'm gonna put damn Reggie
Okay.
Jackson. It's between him and Eric Maynard. Because E Maynard was great, but I gotta put Reggie right there, even though E Maynard is my guy.
Big fan of
That's,
Maynard. Yeah.
that's three. I gotta go back before me. That's what I'm trying to.
Tabo.
How about to say Tabo?
Okay.
Yeah, Tabo was great at his role. Yeah, Tabo, yeah, is in there. Maybe I think I gotta go. Man, is it emotional? I don't know. Like either Nick or Ennis. Ennis
I
was,
mean, Nick
you
has
know,
his jersey in the rafters,
I
right?
know. Nick, I gotta go, Nick.
Okay. Yeah, Nick's got to be on the list.
Yeah.
Ennis was elite in his skill set as well in terms of what,
Yeah.
like everybody remembers the like can't play Cantor thing in the
Yeah.
playoffs because of defense, but in terms of like an offensive big and especially like a guy that could get offensive rebounds and was so skilled underneath the basket, like in his role, Ennis was for what they wanted him to do. He was among the best
Ennis
offensive centers in the league at that time.
Yeah, offensive rebounds, offensive off the bench was tough. I'm like, damn, we got like the number 3 pick, starting center, power forward, coming off the bench. Like that's how good we were, man.
Yeah.
And to come out, he'll give you 26 and 13 off the bench. But yeah, that's my 5 right there, man.
Okay. Okay. The only I would throw out Caruso in that conversation just because I think he was the missing piece to put them into the championship. I mean, like his mentality and the way that he like I think kind of brought his what's the word? Like defensive intensity I thought leveled up OKC's defense last year and was kind of the maybe the difference maker in putting them over the top for the championship. You could probably say that about what Isaiah Hartenstein brought at the center position as well though.
Yeah, I like Caruso on that list too. RFE, honorable mention.
Yeah.
Because he had to guard the Joker, man. He did a good job. And that pretty much got them over the hump against Denver. And it wasn't like a hurt Jokic. It was healthy. So that says a lot about him. Isaiah as well, one of those guys that we definitely needed. Um, Especially in the West. You gotta have guys that's gonna be able to guard that stuff over there. So
Well, and it was
yeah,
such a glaring situation in their loss to Dallas the previous season, and Dallas's bigs just kind of dominating that series. And you bring in Hartenstein, and I know they didn't match up the same way, but I mean Hartenstein just I think eliminated getting into that situation again in last year's postseason run.
yeah, definitely. And that's what he does. And you always got to have a guy like that. You didn't have 2 guys like that, honestly, um, especially in the West. So I think over there they had Anthony Davis and like Lively and those. And it's just linked everywhere. Like everybody, catching lobs. And you just want to have somebody down there to kind of neutralize that. If you could take one of those guys away, you'd have helped the team.
Yeah.
So
All right, before we get out
trade.
of here, oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying trade deadline coming up, man. I'm excited to see where some of these guys end up. Who's gonna make those moves, construct their roster, get ready for the second half of the season.
You think Presti is always going to be somewhat of a mystery in terms of like what he's going to do and all that. But so I'll phrase it this way: do you think Sam should pursue making some type of move, and if so, what do you think he should be looking for?
A shooter. I'm going to find one. Like a role player shooter. I'm looking for that. I think he might be looking at that. I don't know. He's like the he's one of those, he's the evil genius when it comes to like trade deadmarks and free agency, in a great way. So if you one of what I think he would be looking for is another guy that can come in, playoffs. You got to guard them, knock down shots, space the floor for those guys so they can run their offense. Um, I think that's one thing that he would be somewhat kind of pursuing.
You still got some
So
gas in the tank?
yeah, I can still shoot. I can still shoot. I can't do none of that other stuff though. Over with. I can still shoot.
All right. So if they just need a corner three, bring you in, take the shot, and then call a
Or a
timeout as soon as
decoy.
possible.
A decoy, it don't matter.
Okay. There. Yeah. Like you
I'm
said,
cool with
floor
that. I'm a
spacing,
team
right?
guy. Yeah, I'm a team guy, bro. Whatever it takes. Let
There
me
we
get
go.
bring it.
There we go. One other guy, if he still has any gas in the tank, could be Del Curry, right? I mean, he was an OG sharpshooter that
Yeah.
I saw you had the opportunity to speak with the other day, and just recently had his jersey retired in Charlotte.
Yeah, man, that was big. It was, I saw it. I was scrolling and saw it on Instagram, and that was cool. I didn't expect that, but if anybody deserves it, it's him, man. Like, he was one of him and Glenn Rice. Growing up, were I mean, I love LJ and all them too, but being like a shooter, growing up, it was those two guys. I go to the games to watch them shoot, and knowing Dale since I was about 12 years old, always been a pillar in the community. Great guy, man. Like always the same, real cool, collected, and country boy, and being able to be on the court with him and watching him shoot. Like even now, it looked like every shot going in. So and then seeing him get emotional when they surprised him, thought that was pretty classy on the Hornets' behalf, man. So that's good for the city right there. That's good for like the team and the city.
Yeah. It's a lot like the Nick Collison situation in OKC, right? Like a guy that maybe was never like an MVP caliber player, but
Yep.
meant so much to not only the organization, but I think off the floor had a tremendous impact on the team and the city.
Yeah, Nick, that's my guy. But like, yeah, same thing. The impact that he had everywhere, everywhere in the locker room, on the team bus, on the team flight, the charter flights, like team dinners, like it was just his presence, man. Like it's not a lot of vets like that. Like Udonis Haslam kind of is like that, to Miami, and that's what Nick is, man. Like everybody's gonna love Nick forever, and he's still able to contribute to the team as a scout now. So that's pretty cool right there.
Yeah, very, very cool.
But, yeah,
All right, my man. We got to get out of here. Thunder start a 4-game road trip. They're at Houston Thursday night, which should be a fun game. I mean, they went to overtime against the Rockets back on the season opener. So some big matchups on this road trip. Back at home, I think next Friday night against Indiana, who they obviously beat in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. So that should be kind of cool, even though the Pacers are among the worst teams in the league, thanks to some injuries and all that. But should be a fun next week, and we're gearing up for the All-Star break and all that good stuff.
absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to it, bro. You know it.
All right, my man. Always good to see you. We'll catch up next week here
Always.
on Beyond the Arc.